Now let's take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. First off, Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, yesterday said initial public denial of reports on the abduction of 170 worshippers in Kermin-Wali Community, Kaduru local government area of Kaduna State by the Nigerian police before any verification was not only troubling but also generated confusion, heightened fear and unfairly questioned the credibility of eyewitnesses who raised the alarm. 3 churches had been simultaneously attacked in the community last Sunday by gunmen who abducted 170 worshippers while some escaped. But Kaduna State Commissioner of Police Mohammed Rabiu said late Monday that police visited the community and, in his words, there was no evidence of the attack. End of quote. Rabiu dismissed reports of the attack as, in his words, rumor sponsored by people who are not happy with the relative peace that Kaduru has been enjoying since the coming of this administration. End of quote. CAN, in a statement on Wednesday, called for responsibility and caution in security communication after reviewing a subsequent press statement by the Nigeria police confirming the abduction of the 170 worshippers. Kaduna State Governor Senator Uba Sani assured that his administration, in collaboration with security agencies, would ensure the safe return of all the people abducted last Sunday during church services in Kermin-Wali community. Sani, who gave the assurance yesterday during a visit to the community, said he will not rest until the victims returned home safely.
Oh yes, my people, now welcome again to another hot edition of Voices of Vigilance, where we dey carry truth, put for table, no filter, no fear. For this video, I go break down all the story for pidgin, make our people understand well as they talk. First, make we start with Kaduna State, my people. CAN don't blast Nigerian police because of that kidnapping matter for Kermin-Wali community for inside Kaduna. Imagine say over 170 worshippers disappear. Police first say na rumor, say nothing happened. Later, now the same police can release press statement, confirm say true, then kidnap those people. Can you imagine? So the question be say, if no be say pressure day, especially that pressure from the almighty Trump for America, then for still they deny him, okay. Even Governor Basani don't come out talk say in government go work with security agencies to make sure say them bring those people back alive. But my people, true be say trust don't shake small because of that first denial. Oh yes, my people, another story we wanna go see inside this video now. For the one will happen for Davos, Switzerland, where Minister of Foreign Affairs for Nigeria will be Yusuf Maitama Tuga, OON. Beg foreign investors, make them no using security judge Nigeria. Him beg them say, may they no take all these small story where they hear for news, can conclude say Nigeria no safe or say no, you know, ready for business. In talk say economy, still get strong foundation, say reform, they go on, say government, they improve. Another hot story where they inside this video now, the Federal High Court don't rule say Senator Lamadi Usman, now the real leader of Labour Party, Julius Abure don't come out. Court even other INEC say, may they recognize Lamadi Usman caretaker committee. Oh yes, Senator Usman don't call for unity, make party no scatter. But as P2B don't already work out, come out, go ADC, people they ask, waiting remain for Labour Party. Another story we go feel shock person for inside this video be say the APC national chairman will be Professor Nantawe Yewata. Don't talk say after 2027 election, say all political appointment no go to technocrats or even professionals again. Now only party loyalists go collect them. Meaning say, if you know there for APC grassroots, even if you sabi walk past everybody, forget appointment. Now politics before competence, my people. Now so country this did go forward. Make una follow me here this one. Oh. Anyway, all this one are the story we wanna go here for inside this video. Make I allow una. Make una listen as the Arise TV crew they discuss them.
In other news, Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tuga yesterday urged foreign investors not to judge Nigeria's prospects through the prism of isolated security incidents. Tuga said such cases did not reflect the reality of Africa's largest economy and its long-term investment fundamentals. Speaking to CNN on the sidelines of the ongoing World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Tuga acknowledged Nigeria's security challenges, but he stressed that they were localized and being actively addressed by the government. He said the tendency to generalize insecurity across the entire country had often led to exaggerated risk perceptions that obscured opportunities in key sectors. He urged the international community to rethink the way it saw Nigeria. The minister stated that Nigerians were among the continent's most heterogeneous people. He highlighted the country's improving macroeconomic reforms and ongoing efforts to strengthen governance by the Bola Tinubu administration. Tuga stated that while no country was immune to security concerns, investors should take a more nuanced view of Nigeria, assessing the country on its specific merits rather than broad assumptions. Moving on, a federal high court has affirmed Senator Nenadi Usman as the legitimate leader of the Labour Party. Justice Peter Lifu, in his ruling, removed Julius Abure from office and ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to recognize Usman's caretaker committee. The court held that Abure's tenure had expired, aligning with an earlier Supreme Court judgment. Following the ruling, Senator Usman has already convened a National Executive Committee meeting directing state chapters to comply. The decision is seen as a major turning point for the Labour Party, effectively ending months of internal leadership disputes. However, in a separate ruling, Justice Lifu declined to compel INEC to accept and publish the Labour Party's list of candidates for the FCT Area Council and national by-elections scheduled for February 21.
The court also ordered that INEC should, as a matter of fact, recognize every correspondence from Dr. Nenadi Usman as the valid and the only recognized chairman of Labour Party. The court went further to warn against all this shenanigan and superfluous grandstanding by people who want to run the party at their whims and caprices of running around and on forum shopping, going to court in Jos, going to court in Nasarawa, going to court here and there. So, my final thing is that the Labour Party behold your national chair. Madam Chair, congratulations.
I believe that this is not just, it's not victory for Nenadi Usman, no. It's victory for Labour Party, it's victory for all Nigerians who believe in the Labour Party. I would want to seize this opportunity to call on all my brothers and sisters and say there is no victor, no vanquished. Let's come back, work together and build a stronger Labour Party. Thank you.
Well, still on politics, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Professor Nentawe Yilwada, has declared that political appointments following the 2027 general elections will be strictly reserved for party loyalists rather than technocrats or professionals. Nentawe emphasized that governance is inherently political and appointees must actively support the party that brought them to power. According to Nentawe, all government appointees must be visible in grassroots politics and actively participate in party activities, stressing there was nothing like technocrats when it comes to political appointments. Nentawe also highlighted that appointees must actively engage with the grassroots, asserting that political visibility is a requirement, not an option. He warned that the APC cannot rely solely on technocrats who do not participate in party mobilization. All right. Okay, interesting. Some stories before us, Vimbai and Dr. Abati. Of course, first of all, we look at what's happened, unfortunately, in Kaduna State, the denial, and now the acceptance of the fact that 170 worshippers were indeed kidnapped. And then going on to politics with regards to the Labour Party, is this the beginning of the end of the internal squabbles or trials they've endured in the last few months? And then finally, of course, to the APC chairman's statements. What's your take on these stories?
Let me start with the APC chairman's statements, because I believe there's nothing strange or foreign or abnormal about saying that political appointments should go to party loyalists. This reflects what we see in a parliamentary system, where in essence anybody who is elected into public office must emerge from the people, must have been somebody who contested and won an election. In this instance, we don't operate a parliamentary election, a parliamentary system, we operate a presidential system. And so it would be strange that you would win an election and not go and choose your own loyalists or those who have mobilized you to come into power. However, where the context now becomes a little bit nuanced for Nigeria is the fact that all of these other contexts that we look at, usually on a global platform, have strong institutions. What does that mean? That means that there are strong checks and balances with regards to competence. So you may appoint your loyalists, but ultimately those institutions are allowed to function independently, and they are reviewed, and there's transparency. Corruption is assessed, all of the various factors that make institutions or government agencies or departments work well. Unfortunately, many of these things are absent in our system, which means that once you put political appointees there, in essence, you add to the opaque nature and the lack of efficiency in the system. So we now ask ourselves, where do we need to go? Where will the solution be made? Because there is no person who will be elected into office who will not appoint their loyalists. It's impossible. But where is the fine line where merit-based governance can meet political loyalty, if I may say that? Because it's also supposed to represent ideological unity. But again, there's a lack of unity in that. But again, I don't think there's anything strange. He's just telling us what already happens in our political system. Now, let's quickly go to issues pertaining to Nenadi Usman and the Labour Party. What are the big questions here? The big question is what happens next? Because we know that Nenadi Usman's faction had been a Peter Obi faction. Peter Obi has now decamped to the ADC, and he took a number of notable individuals and leaders with him to the ADC from the Labour Party. Are there still people within the Labour Party, within the Nenadi Usman faction, who are still ready to follow the line of Labour Party, or have they all ported to become obedient and to favour Peter Obi in the ADC? Now, what will happen if Peter Obi doesn't clinch the ADC ticket? Because the commentators have said that ultimately the ADC convention belongs to Atiku. There's a gentleman who said that, well, Peter Obi is a candidate who gets anointed, but Atiku is an expert when it comes to conventions and securing tickets. So is this a backup plan that will ensure that Peter Obi has a safe landing in case the ADC convention doesn't play out in his favor? But again, what does this do for opposition politics and for the broader framework of the 2027 election? Because it divides the vote. Now, very quickly to conclude on comments by Yusuf Tuga around overhyping Africa as a geopolitical risk. There's no country that does not have risks. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I don't expect him to do any less than to market Nigeria. However, it's important to note that in the context of geopolitical risks, where Africa is concerned, specifically where Nigeria is concerned, we can no longer speak of isolated security incidents. Yes, there are operational zones. You can't risk Lagos with the same risk that you have with Northwest or Northeast or North Central. However, it is important for us to not rely too heavily on painting a glossy PR picture of Nigeria without addressing the fundamental and structural challenges that are bedeviling us on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, let me start with Tuga. Yusuf Tuga, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Yes, he was speaking on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos. And he was saying that the geopolitical risk attached to Nigeria is overhyped, and that does not reflect the reality in Nigeria. In other words, that Nigeria, he admitted, has security challenges on account of further developments in the Sahelian region and in neighboring Niger. But that every country faces challenges and that Nigeria is dealing with those challenges. And as a result, that should not discourage foreign investors. And it is as follows. One of the major items, topics in this year's Davos, WEF, is about risk management. Risk management is no longer rhetoric. It is statecraft. And I think, it is in order that our Minister of Foreign Affairs will say that we are managing risks that investors should not panic about. And he outlined a number of things that the Tinubu administration is doing in terms of reforms. And that, look, this security challenges that they talk about in Nigeria is localized. Now, when Makani took the podium on Tuesday, he more or less told the same line to say, look, risk management has become existential at a time when there are headwinds in terms of the disruption of the rules-based international system. Second point is that Yusuf Tiga's intervention is consistent with the Nigerian position. For the first time, the Nigerian government now has a Nigeria House at Davos. Yeah. And the key statement that they have made is that, look, Nigeria is open for business. Whether it was Wale Edun talking yesterday that we're going to reduce borrowing and that they will not pose a threat to private investors, or any of the other ministers, or the vice president himself saying, look, Nigeria is open for business. So his statement is consistent along that line. And I do not see any problem with it. Apart from the president, he is also the person who has the major next responsibility for promoting Nigeria through the structure of diplomacy. But we must move from rhetoric to action, because it's not enough to say we're managing risk. We must see basic evidence that we're doing that in that direction. As for Netanwe Yitwada, the chairman of the All Progressives Congress, yes, he was speaking in the North, where there was an event organized about renewed hope and all of that. And, okay, as part of the attempt by the party to mobilize people to join the party, he was saying, look, identify with the party. It's only when you identify with the party that you have the prospect of getting a political appointment. And this is not about technocrats. And I say that he is wrong. Whether we are running a presidential system or running a parliamentary system or a parliamentary presidential system, there is a hybrid, whatever it is. But what we run here is a presidential system. Our situation is peculiar in Nigeria. Our argument in this country is that, look, it is the last 11 that is leaving the best 11. We are running a country from the reserve bench of, average people. And we have been saying that, all this talk about federal character, this and that, this country must be governed by people who have ability, people who have competence, not people who are party affiliated, religion affiliated, or people who have privileges on the basis of who they know or because they have money. That is the conversation about this country. We have also in this country argued about inclusivity. Diversity is the label for the first point I made, then inclusivity. So there are many competent people in this country who do not belong to the APC and who have the right to be part of the process and who can be sourced and put in. After all, previous governments even look for people from diaspora. Yes. That competent people, wherever they may be in this world, can be invited to be part of the Nigerian solution, the Nigerian conversation, the Nigerian debate. So for Netanwe Yitwada saying that you have to be a party of a member of APC, a card-carrying member, identifying with the party, no. I think that is coming from a lack of awareness about the priorities that the Nigerian people have defined for themselves. We don't want to pack touts. You can win the election, whatever the label of your party is, but run the country in an inclusive manner and with the best of our hands that we can get. Saying for you to be in government, you must carry cards. No, I don't. You should go and review what he's saying, or he should be properly advised by far more knowledgeable people who are in his party. Now, as for the Kaduna case, well, we welcome the intervention by the Kaduna State governor, who is saying that, look, we will do everything to make sure that people are rescued. But the key point about this is that there was denial by government officials initially that 177 persons were abducted. I think it's in Kantungu, or is it Kantunga, local government area last Sunday. 177 of them from Ekwa Church and from the Cherubim and Seraphim Church. Human beings just disappeared into thin air. Some families lost or got some of their people abducted. The Amos family alone had about 13 people. The Jonathan family, 12 people. The Shaya and Bamawa family, 9 people. The Danjuma Musa family, 5 persons. The Bawa family, 6 persons. Whole families abducted because they went to church. And then government officials said, oh, this is not true, So that's why I think that the governor saying we will do everything to get them rescued. Now, we hear that the kidnappers released elderly women and children. 11 persons escaped, but as at the last count, they still have about 167 persons in captivity. And we must commend the Christian Solidarity Network, CSWN of Nigeria, insisting that people were missing. And Mr. Peter Obi, who stood up and said the government officials were lying. Now, you can't be lying with people's lives. Now the truth has come out yesterday in this newspaper, Vanguard newspaper, at page 5, page 15, and page 35. The newspaper provided evidence and the details of the families that have been abducted. Nobody should be abducted, whether as family member or because you went to church. These are the issues, in my view.
All right, let me start with Kaduna State because I think it's a very serious issue and it is one that has plagued us as a nation for very long, which is this trust deficit based on information, lack of information, misinformation, denial of information, particularly by government. In this instance, it was the Commissioner of Police in Kaduna State who initially had, said the claim was practically false, and indeed he had asked that he should present evidence of the names of the people who were kidnapped out of 177 people. I say this because this is a playbook that we have seen happen before in the country. Remember when it had to do with NSAS, they said, let's show us the people. We are the family members that were killed. When it came to the situation in Kebbi State, we had issues around the number of people who were abducted or not. So maybe in that instance, you might say they're trying to be cautious so that they would not have that kind of embarrassment. But the thrust of the matter is a lack of respect for the sanctity of human life, where over 170 people were kidnapped and there was a denial by the State Commissioner of Police. Number one is that it would make people more reluctant to come out to state facts around issues that they are facing. Number two is that now that we have seen that it was not true, it further erodes the trust that people want to have in government agencies, especially when they come out to give information, give a denial about certain instances or incidents that have happened in the country. These are some of the biggest challenges. So what can we do? What could have been done better? I believe that we can borrow a leaf from the response by the Kaduna State government, and I'll break it down. So that in the future, rather than deny or try to, make things, minimize the impact of certain, disasters like this or certain security operations like this, we can handle it better. Number one is that there was a sense of responsibility. First of all, the governor came out to say that he takes responsibility for the lives and property of every member of his state or every resident in his state. That is number one. He said that it is the responsibility of the Kaduna State government to protect the lives and property of the people. Ownership. The second part is action and empathy. He said that he was going to pay the bills of all those who were injured. And so one of the things that people want to see after taking ownership is not just to stay there and say that, oh, we acknowledge that this is happening, but actually demonstrate and outline some of the things or the actions that you will take. The third thing was to identify the challenges and prefer solutions through collaboration. He talked about working with the Minister of Defense to ensure that they established a military camp in that area, having identified it as a black spot for kidnappers. This is a clear path to addressing an issue that has already been identified. Let me go back to his statement around the responsibility to take care of lives and property. It brings back again the conversation around state police, because you cannot, as a state governor, say that you have such responsibilities, yet do not have the powers to actually act out on the responsibilities. Nevertheless, before we get to that point, he will do what he's able to do within the limits of the limited powers that he has as chief executive without having state police to address these issues, working in collaboration with the federal, in this case, the Minister of Defense. That's what we want to see. And kudos to the president of CAN, Archbishop Daniel Oko, for coming out to speak about this and talk about how it's important to not discredit credible eyewitnesses so that people are not further discouraged from working hand in hand to provide intelligence and provide information to security operatives. Because if at the end of the day you're going to make it look as if they're liars, why would I come forward to speak out about what's happened in the community? But most importantly, what we're asking for is that these 170 or 160 something now out in captivity are released, and that most importantly we prevent incidents like this from happening. Very quickly on Professor Yuwata, chairman of APC, one of the things I would say is that if we focused more on party loyalists against technocrats, we might perhaps have missed intelligent minds like Dr. Akiwumi Adeshino or Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala sacrificing competence on the altar of politics and rewarding loyalists. We see a number of it in this administration, and we see that we can compare those who are technocrats and those who are political appointees, and you can compare just how well they have performed. A lot to be said, but unfortunately out of time. However, we will take further conversations as we will have guests who would dissect some of the issues we've identified or highlighted this morning.